How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome into another episode of NAISB. My name is Reagan Harold. That is former Midland All-American shortstop Carly Fitzer. And Carly, as soon as we think it's going to be an off weekend, okay, we got Eastern Oregon, Oregon Tech. That's a fun one. Outside of that, there wasn't a ton where it was like, oh my gosh, hey, big matchups here. And then bang, it happens. Upset weekend. The first time, I mean, everybody completely shocked. Some real big shockers. A phenomenal weekend of NAI softball. And this just goes to show, hey, in this league, it's truly anybody can beat anybody. We saw teams that did not get in double-digit wins beat ranked teams this weekend. How about
Yep.
that? But of course, got to start Cascade. Carly, we said it last week when we did the NAISB Invitational recap that Southern Oregon and Oregon Tech really separated and seemed like they were the two best teams there. And once again, we're walking away from this weekend with a bigger example, a bigger sample size to definitively say, once again, the Cascade Collegiate Conference is going to be the most competitive and is the best conference in NAI softball.
Yeah. It's so deep. There's so much talent on each team. I mean, every series is a toss up.
I mean, they have five or six teams that could win almost any conference in the NAI. Let's start
Yep.
with the first big series out of the Cascade Collegiate Conference this year. Eastern Oregon goes to Klamath Falls for the first time since winning the conference tournament there. It was a few months ago. In game one, it was a familiar face who had a big tournament. Hannah Tyree in game one. The Mounties win 3-2. Hannah Tyree, the catcher, goes 3 for 3, two home runs, a double and three RBIs. Have a day, Miss Tyree. We're not going to mention her much over the past three games, but it wasn't because she was a one-game warrior. They just didn't pitch to her hardly at all after that. And smart move from Greg Stewart on that end. Of course, Kylie Parsons, who reminded us, saying, "Hey, everybody, you talked about that top three, the three-headed monster coming into the year in NAI softball. Of course, talking about Annalise Jarvis, Casey Schmidt, and Sophie Williams." But she's right there on par with them, and she's absolutely a top five pitcher in the NAI, and she proved it in that performance against Oregon Tech, securing them game one on Friday.
Yeah. Um, Complete game, 7 innings pitched, allowing just 2 earned runs and then striking out five. I mean, it
Yeah,
we got to put her in our at least our top four.
yeah. I mean, I would have her at four, and you could certainly make an argument for three. Now, of course, she has not played nearly as much as those other three with Eastern Oregon. These being the third, fourth, fifth, and sixth games they played this year. The only other two, a split with Benue Mesa that we talked about last week. But we will talk about Eastern Oregon a little bit later on and Oregon Tech. Forgot to mention at the top of the episode, we are doing our top 15 power rankings. We'll take you 15 through one as those first ratings are right around the corner before a big week next weekend in Gulf Shores. Of course, we'll have the Gulf Shores Invitational next week, along with a really cool interview. I'll go ahead and tell you. Bill Gamolich. Some of y'all may know that name. Coaches, I'm sure you do. Players, you may not. But Mr. Bill is a phenomenal umpire. He has umpired from NAI to Division One over the last couple of decades. He's also been the UIC umpire in charge at the NAI Softball World Series. And we're on talk with him. That's actually going to be an in-person interview. He's over there in Vieira. He's the UIC over there. So I'll be over there Tuesday. I'll get to sit down with him, have a one-on-one. He's a great guy. We're both pretty big talkers, so it should be a fun one. But yeah, I want to throw it. And they're coming. Carly H won't be there.
Yeah.
We have another one on Wednesday. We're gonna save that interview to tell y'all, but that's gonna be a must listen with a legendary coach. That'll be a week from today on the Thursday episode. Be on that Monday episode. Pretty cool to have an umpire of that pedigree coming on the show.
Yeah. Yeah. I might text you some questions I have.
Got to, got to.
Yeah.
He was the UIC for your World Series a couple of years
Yep.
ago against Oregon Tech and everybody. So you may have a couple questions for him. But speaking of Oregon Tech, let's get back to it because they did take game two, 3-2. So 2 3-2 games in the first two of the four game set. Allie Parker, 4 innings. She got the win. Casey Schmidt would come out and pitch the last 2 innings, allowed no base runners and has struck out one, getting the save. Puakea Milborn, your girl over at first base, led the way
Yep.
going 3 for 3, a pair of runs scored. What really hurt Eastern Oregon in this game, 3 errors. And of course, with these being the first couple of games, something that certainly could have happened, but they allowed some runs to score on some errors. Game three was an instant classic to get it started on Saturday. The Mounties would win 9-8 in 8 innings. Oregon Tech was down 8-0, facing this game ending early. It was 8-0 heading to the bottom of the fifth inning, but the Owls would score 8 straight, including 4 in the seventh, to erase that 8-0 Eastern Oregon lead. But Eastern Oregon would squeak one across. They were nearly able to get out of his bases loaded, nobody out. Then the Owls were able to get 2 quick outs, and then a 4 pitch walk would be the ender. They would win. Excuse me, Eastern Oregon would win that one 9-8. Emily Berry had a big game three, going 2 for 4 with 4 RBIs. Madison Olson, the third baseman for Eastern Oregon, went 2 for 5 with a pair of RBIs. However, Oregon Tech would salvage the split on home turf. Uh, with 2 out in the first inning, things were looking like it could break open early. Bases loaded already, a 1-0 game. Coach Greg Stewart turns to Carly Moore, a new pitcher for them, certainly our new someone who's going to be getting a lot more innings for them, I should say, this year. Goes 6 2/3, 6 strikeouts, 2 walks, 0 runs, only allows 1 hit. Greg Stewart, one of the best in the business, pretty good choice seems like there. They would go on to win 5-1. It would be Nita Cook leading the way 2 for 3, a big 2 RBI knock, and her 3 RBI game in the cap of the series. Addison Kashnik would go 2 for 3 with a double and a solo shot as well. But a nice split there in the Cascade Conference. Another conference, Carly, starting to get underway, and certainly the biggest upsets. If there was a winner of the weekend, I don't think any of us really had this on our bingo card, but Blue Mountain Christian out of the Southern States, 2 huge splits for them this weekend.
Yeah, they really came out and surprised us a little bit. They took their first game over William Carey 2-1. William Carey scored. They scored in the first. Couldn't get anything going the rest of the game. They only recorded 3 hits. Iris Favre for Blue Mountain Christian, 2 for 2 with a double and 2 RBIs. Marin McCree going 2 for 3. And then Madison Montgomery, big game for her, complete game, allowing just 3 hits and 1 run. And then they'd go ahead and do it again against Mobile. They'd get a split with them. They win their second game against the Rams 4-3. Both teams record 9 hits. Rams with a couple of defensive mistakes that might have changed the game a little bit for them, but Blue Mountain Christian took the lead by 3 after the fourth inning. Rams were able to tie it up in the bottom of the sixth before Kelsey Camp would single to score the winning run. Her second hit of the game. Juliana Ingram had a double and an RBI. Iris Favre, RBI herself. And then Neely Cooper had the complete game in the circle. She allowed just 3 earned runs on 9 hits, and a couple strikeouts for her.
Yeah, what a surge of confidence for Blue Mountain Christian. Carly certainly not picked to finish in the rankings up there with William Carey and Mobile, but they split with them early on. Certainly something to keep an eye on as they continue into Southern States play, and also looking at William Carey and Mobile, and perhaps if that gap that we've seen in years past, well, along with them in Middle Georgia State, maybe not quite what it was. Of course, Stillman, another team that competes in that conference in the HBCU conference now. But Carly, the biggest upset of the weekend, Bethel from Indiana taking down number 19 St. Thomas. Now, this did come right after St. Thomas did officially make Marsh 4-0 in his Marsh's matchup. So credit the Bobcats in that one. But Harmony Looney and Haley Allen would combine in the circle. Looney would get the win, going 3 innings, only giving up 1 earned run. And then Allen, 4 innings, 2 strikeouts, 1 hit, got the save, came in a tie ball game for Bethel. And I'm looking at it. They credited Looney with the win, but I'm not sure after St. Thomas tied it. Whatever. We're not going to look at. We'll let the SIDs settle that. But Looney and Allen combining for a really impressive 7 innings. Would be Shelby White singling in the seventh to score the game winner. Look, there's always ones like this, but for Bethel, you can hang your hat on the fact that you are going somewhere, you're improving as a program, obviously looking at the last couple of years for the Pilots, and then you take down a top 25 program. And I talked with their coach after. I said, this isn't a team with just a number. I mean, it's a team, Carly and I, we both have very high expectations for, and hopefully it's a wake-up call for the Bobcats and Coach Gutierrez moving forward.
Yeah, yeah. Moving on to Montreat and Reinhardt. Montreat coming off tougher weekend from the NAISB Invitational,
Yep.
but they get a really good split with Reinhardt. Two really tough games, both extra innings, both um, very close. Game one, Reinhardt took it 4-5 in 9 innings. Eagles out hit Montreat 16-6, but Montreat did hold the lead until the seventh before the Eagles would tie it up. Each would score a run in the eighth before the Eagles pushed one across in the ninth behind the Taylor Wade single. Ainsley Height 3 for 4 with 2 runs, an RBI, and 3 doubles. And then Kyra Leitner 2 for 4 with an RBI and a double. Ainsley Pettit got the win in the circle. She goes 3 complete innings, allowing just 1 hit, 1 earned run, and 5 strikeouts. Game two, Montreat would bounce back. Eagles hold a lead almost entirety of the game before Montreat would score two in the bottom of the seventh to tie it. Maggie Knight would walk it off in the bottom of the eighth with an RBI single up the middle. Michaela Reed, 2 for 4 with a run, 2 RBIs and a double. Really good game for Alana Hernandez, 3 for 4, 3 RBIs and a run. And then Mackenzie Flores picked up the win in the circle. She goes 1 2/3, no hits, no walks, and a strikeout.
Yeah, we mentioned it in our recap of Shawnee for Montreat. They needed to find a way to win these close games. They pick up a really nice one there against the top 25 program. Another team that going out of conference play now, but in state, picking up a nice win was IU Southeast. They split with Indiana Wesleyan. Both teams just getting their season started. We got our first look at Jordan Ball in the red and gray. Ball would go 5 innings. They did give up 4 earned runs, but she struck out seven and only walked one in 5 innings of work. That was all she was able to pitch because her offense would put up a 12 spot. We know this offense is going to be one of the best in the country this year. Ella Phillips would lead the way in their game one win for the Wildcats, going 2 for 3 with 5 RBIs, a home run, and a triple. That'll play. And then Courtney Thomas, 3 for 3, 3 RBIs. But we would then see the flip side of things for Indiana Wesleyan with a 8 spot in the second inning being put up by IU Southeast in game two. Mackenzie Walters led the way for IU Southeast, going 3 for 4, 3 RBIs, 3 doubles. Sophia Guy would add on with a solo home run, and Bradlea Bennett would add on with 3 more RBIs. In total, 6 players for IU Southeast would have RBI, so a team effort in their 12-8 win over IWU. Top 15 win, obviously, really solid. Another non-top 25 team picking up a top 25 win is Grandview. Really excited for their games Monday against Southeastern. Hate I won't be there as I'll be over in Vieira, but Grandview did take down one of the big dogs in the Sun Conference already, beating Coastal Georgia to nothing. Um, Grandview would score the 2 lone runs in the game in the bottom of the second. Gabriella Tabor went 2 for 3 with her RBI. Chloe Kotowski would add on an RBI as well. And Maddie Huseman, a complete game, one hitter, striking out two, no walks. Huseman has definitely answered the question who would take over for Wall Jasper in the ace role really well. And Carly, I'm looking at the Heart of America Benedictine, very tough start for them. Central Methodist, obviously not the number 7 team in the country. Baker is solid, but a little streaky. And I'm looking at Grandview and Coach Lou, the example of consistency they have. I don't think it's crazy to say that the Grandview Vikings could certainly be talked about as the favorite to win the Heart of America right now.
No, they're certainly one of mine. But like we've said, pretty much episode after episode, I mean, the heart right now is still just completely wide open in those 4 teams and maybe a couple sneakers in the middle of the pack.
Well, St. Thomas, we mentioned earlier, Carly, they did win the weekend matchup for Marsh 4-1 against Johnson. Anna Toon, huge day for her. She gives up 1 run in the bottom of the seventh, but then she cruises the rest of the way, including a solo shot. That was only run scored between innings 2, 3, 7. St. Thomas would put a three spot up in the top of the first, winning that one 4-1. But the circle back to the Cascade, we mentioned it. Anybody can win that conference, and we saw Carroll get a nice split with College of Idaho.
They did, yeah. They won their two on Friday, and then the Yotes would salvage a split on Saturday. First game to kick off the series was an absolute thriller, back and forth all game long. Carroll would take it 11-10. Yotes took a 2-run lead in the top of the seventh. They scored three, but Carroll would respond with 3 runs of their own. They secured the win behind Kenna Thomas's RBI single and then a walk-off 2 RBI double from Ella Seaman. She would finish 2 for 5 with 2 RBIs and a double. Alyssa Libbert 3 for 4, 3 RBIs and a double. And then Kennedy Venner went the distance in the circle. She struck out 4. And then game two, 7-6, Carroll again, a little bit of the same of game one, where um, they make it close in the seventh. They jumped out to a 4-0 lead after the second. College of Idaho battled back. They took the lead in the seventh. And then Bryn Notbaum would bring across the game-winning run in the bottom of the seventh. Samuel Abram, 2 for 3 with 2 runs and 2 RBIs. Kenna Thomas, 2 for 4, couple RBIs. And then Kennedy Venner again, she earns the win in the circle. She went an inning and 2/3, gave up 2 hits and struck out 1. Script would flip on Saturday. College of Idaho would find a way to salvage the split, win both games. Game three, game one is Saturday. Yotes take it 15-8. Bats come alive. They score 15 runs on 18 hits. They started the game off super hot. They scored 5 in the first inning. Hallie Campbell 3 for 5 and team leading and led the team in 4 RBIs. Keena Kay 2 for 5 with a run and 3 RBIs. Solid game for Chloe Flerchinger, 4 for 5, 3 runs, 2 RBIs, and 2 doubles. And then Drew Williams, she would get the win in the circle, going 5 1/3, allowing 3 earned runs on 5 hits. And then game four, a little bit of repeat of Friday, 7-6, but this time the Yotes would come out on top. Carroll scored 6 in the first 2 innings, and then the Yotes would chip away throughout the game. They took the lead in the seventh, found a way to hold on in the bottom of the seventh as their defense put up a 0 on the scoreboard. Madeline Powell, 3 for 3 with 3 runs, an RBI, a double, and a home run. Ashlyn Nixon, 2 for 4 with an RBI and a double. And then Ambry Jones, 6 innings pitched, 1 earned run on 7 hits, and striking out 3.
Switching over to the Red River Athletic Conference, and this one not an upset. We got one more upset for you after this one, but Olu took 2 from Houston Victoria. The Saints, nice win for them against the receiving votes Jaguars team. The Saints would take game one 7-2. Ava Hernandez would lead the way, going 7 innings, 4 strikeout, no walks, 2 earned runs. She also got it done in the box with 2 RBIs and a triple. Grace Ross would go 2 for 4. The catcher would also add on an RBI in game two. Annika Laterio would lead the way, going 7 innings, 9 strikeouts, 1 walk, 3 hits, and 0 runs. In the box, Alyssa Garcia, the shortstop, go 2 for 3 with a pair of RBIs and a double. Grace Ross would also add a double as well, going 2 for 3. Alyssa Flores, 2 for 4 with an RBI, and Lily Rocha, 2 for 5 with the RBI as well. Saints, they're rolling through. Can't wait for them to keep doing what they need to do, but. Yeah, a little bit tough start, but it looks like the Saints starting to kind of find their groove. The World Series hangover looks like it's off, and obviously showing with 2 nice wins against Houston Victoria. But Carly, we got a couple more to talk about to wrap up the weekend recap, and it's games that just got finished. We actually took a little break to let a couple of these wrap up. So if you're watching on YouTube and you saw the little jump, that's what that was. But let's talk about certainly the biggest 2 out of 3 upset so far this season. We knew Rio Grande was solid. We were high on them last year before they kind of faded off towards the end of the year. But what a win for them as they get to the end of their non-conference play as the Red Storm take 2 of 3 from the University of the Cumberlands. Remember, a couple weeks ago, Carly, I did the whole take the Madonna hoodie off, have the Cumberland shirt on, saying nobody's going to Williamsburg and taking 2 out of 3 from the Pats. Well, Rio says, hold my cold beverage, and they do just that.
Yeah, they dropped the first one to the Pats, but they would win the second two. Game one was 2-1 Patriots. They score one in the first and one in the seventh, and that would be enough for them. Carly Oliver, she stays hot, goes 2 for 3 with a run and two doubles. Ryan Livingston got the lone RBI for the Pats. And then Lindsay Shope goes 6 1/3 with 4 hits, 1 earned run, and 5 strikeouts. Caitlin Schofield would come in and clean it up with 2/3 of an inning. But Rio would bounce back in game two. They would take it 5-4. Pats tried to mount a late comeback. They scored 3 in the bottom of the sixth, but it just wouldn't be enough. Kayla Sedgwick, 3 for 4 with an RBI. Maddie Angler and Delana Landfield, they each go 2 for 3. There was RBIs from 5 different Rio players. They used 4 different pitchers as well, but Reese DeCamp would get the win. She goes 1 1/3. She put zeros up across the board. And then game three, which wrapped up today, would go into extras, 8 innings. Rio would come out on top. A little bit of a different game for the Pats. They commit 4 errors, in which I think would be the difference for them. But Kayla Sedgwick, again, big game for her, 3 for 4 with 2 runs and 2 RBIs. And then Madison Ogden, 2 for 4 with an RBI, and she would get the win in the circle herself, going 1 2/3 with a hit and 4 strikeouts.
Yeah, look, we don't want to make this all about Cumberland. These are phenomenal wins for Rio Grande. Something you look on down the line of it, when it comes down to being a 2 or 3 seed. Rio now has the argument of going to Williamsburg and taking 2 of 3. And heck, who knows how things will shake up this year. I think this weekend really showed Carly there's a lot more parity than we gave it credit for this year. I feel like we all just looked at it and said, there's probably 10 to 15 teams that, we can put in a blender and pick the 10 to Columbus. I don't know if we're going to have that anymore. I think this weekend really, really showed it with the upsets we just talked about. Really nice wins for Rio Grande. As for Cumberland's, you look now in conference play, Lindsey Wilson's better. Freed Hardman's going to be scrappy. This is probably the best Campbellsville team that we've seen in covering NAIA softball. So, and this is definitely, I mean, we just got to call it how it is. This is probably the worst Cumberland's team that we've seen. Now, I don't know if that's going to be true in April and May, but as it stands now, I mean, they some of these losses are starting to stack up, and this is a tough one. And like three 1-run games could have gone one way or the other. Cumberland's is going to be fine, y'all. Like, they're going to be a team hosting an opening round. They're going to be okay, but there's questions that got to be answered. And the big one is one I think we're all a little bit shocked by. It's the errors. Like, this is not what last year. Undoubtedly, this is the best defensive team. We knew losing Emily Bryant at third base, there was going to be some things that they were going to have to address. But right now, Cumberland's struggling a little bit, and Carly, they got to figure some things out before they get into the Mid South.
Yeah, um, but I'm not worried yet.
No, no, like it. So if I'm a Cumberland's Patriots softball fan, I don't have the panic button even on my desk at all. But I know what drawer it's in, and I'm
Yep.
looking at it.
Yep.
I haven't even put it on the desk. I haven't even raised my hand yet.
You haven't even put new batteries in it.
There's batteries are always in it. You never know. You never know. You never know. You never know when you got to pull that panic button out. You got to be locked and loaded. Come on. Um, but I'm definitely looking at it, and I'm like, huh.
Yeah.
I wasn't looking at this drawer a couple weeks ago, but now I'm looking at the drawer. Now I'm like, it's possible. It's possible. Let's wrap it up. There's still some games going on, especially over in Arizona. But today, Madonna did beat Embry-Riddle 6-2. They're having a nice showing out there, and there's a really quality win. We talked about Embry-Riddle being one of those non-top 25 teams that will probably have a number next to his name in a couple weeks. Would have been nice for them not to have dropped this game to Madonna, though. That would have shirted it up. But Madonna is still showing that they are one of the top teams in the NAIA. Ella Thomas goes 3 for 3 with a double. Riley Fitzpatrick 2 for 4, pair of RBIs and a double. Brian Antual 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs, and Alicia got the air at the top of the lineup, pair of RBIs for her and a walk. Camille Oyer 7 innings, 6 strikeouts, 2 earned runs. Those 2 runs coming in the seventh, where she had that comfortable um, 6-0 lead. But Carly, let's get into it. Our top 15 power rankings. Kind of similar field of teams, but definitely some changes. We do have different number one teams, but we'll start with number 15 and who we just talked about. We both have them at number 15. It was Madonna. Carly, who outside of 1 through 15 did you look at possibly taking that 15 spot for Madonna? The one that really comes to mind for me right now is certainly um, Central Methodist.
Yep, yep. I actually bumped them for my number 14 team.
Mhm.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, I also thought about I thought if St. Thomas wouldn't have lost to Bethel, they would have been in there. Thought about Southeastern and Grandview. Really want to see how that doubleheader goes on Monday before we start looking at them.
I low key thought about LSUA.
Thought about LSUA too. There's certainly a big snub for this for me, and there's a couple teams we're going to talk about. I can go ahead and get into it with my number 14. Marion could be out of this list very quickly. Like I'm giving Marion the benefit of the doubt. They swept Indiana Tech this weekend, so if they wouldn't have done that, they would not have been on this list. But I'm gonna give Marion the benefit of the doubt. I'll get a good look at them Monday and Tuesday over at the Space Coast games. But at 14, I've got Marion.
Yeah. For me, I got Mobap. That's why I bumped CMU for. I kind of wish I would have put them a little bit higher. Um, but they're in my top 15 and they
Sure.
burned.
Yeah, a lot of good teams, a lot of good teams. For example, who we both have at number 13, one of the best or the best program in NAIA softball history. It's Oklahoma City. We've talked about them a lot over the last couple episodes. Won't need to dive in much. Obviously, they're going to be able to hit. The question is, will they be able to pitch past Emerson this year? At number 12 for me, I have Hope International. Phenomenal showing out in Oklahoma. They take care of business against Westcliff this year. Yeah, I'm rocking with the Royals, even the post Ali Puente era. I still think they're one of the top 15 teams in NAIA softball right now.
Yeah, I rocked with Marion for number 12. I still got hope for them. I think they're gonna find their footing and they're gonna get back in their groove.
Yeah, like I said, they only played a couple of games, but they're going to be fine.
Yeah.
When they get rolling, still think they're a top 15 team. I have them at 14. You have them at 12. At number 11 for you, you've had Hope International, who I had at 12.
Yep, I do.
All right. Anything else you want to add on them?
Um, no, you pretty much covered it. They're they're better than I would have thought they would be without Ali Puente. Um,
Yeah, lineup is certainly taking an upgrade.
yeah.
Number 11 for me, I've got William Carey. If they wouldn't have had that loss against Blue Mountain Christian, I certainly could have bumped them up a spot or two. But yeah, I'm a rock with William Carey. Still a huge fan of Hornsby. Still think she's a top 10 pitcher in the league this year. They're fast, a lot of slappers. That causes problem for teams, especially in postseason play. I got William Carey at 11. Moving into our top 10, we both have Indiana Wesleyan, and this was a team I thought about. I thought about as high as 7. I thought about as low as 14. So I kind of put them in that middle range there. At number 10, Carly, they're in the exact same boat as Marion. I'm gonna get a better look at you this weekend, a little bit better determination on those two teams out of the crossroads. But in my opinion, heading into the year, thought they were a top 10 team. I'm gonna leave them in the top 10 right now.
Yeah, and I'm the same way. They've only played a couple games, so I'm gonna leave them where they're at. They're 10 for me as well, and I need to see more from them before I think about if I want to move them up or down.
Moving forward into the top 10, Carly, I had them at 11. You have William Carey at 9.
I do. Yep, I'm they're in my Columbus 10, and I'm keeping them in there.
Gotcha. I'm rocking with Missouri Baptist. They're my Columbus 10. I'm keeping them there at 9. They got a phenomenal 1-2 punch in the circle. Taylor Whitehead was on the all NAISB tournament team. So rocking with her and the Spartans there at 9. Moving up to number 8, I put Georgia Gwinnett. I feel like that's fair for them. You know, they if they wouldn't have had the 2 losses against Southeastern, I could have definitely put them higher. And yeah, I mean, I got Gwinnett at 8. Y'all know the deal with them. Great defense, great speed, obviously phenomenal pitching.
Yeah, my number 8, I got Olu. I thought about maybe putting them a little bit lower, but I think about, they're still 15-4, a couple losses with Evangel. Still got Ava Hernandez. Grace Ross is off to a phenomenal start to her year. So I'm giving them a little grace.
Mhm. That's where I have Olu at the 7 spot. And that's about where I had him coming into the weekend against Houston, Victoria. Yeah, I tell you what, actually, I'm gonna flip flop it right now. I'm gonna do it right now. I've got to. So I made this list before the Rio. I'm actually moving Olu up to 6, and I'm putting Cumberlands at 7. Just talked about both of those programs. I'm making that switch right now, moving Olu ahead of Cumberlands. The Patriots were the team I had number 1 in my preseason power rankings. I've got them bumped down to 7.
Yeah, I got them at 7 too. And kind of like I said, with kind of like what you just did, I could have flipped them with Olu. I could have put Cumberland's a little bit lower than what I have them at, but panic button is in the drawer, so they're staying at 7.
And here's the interesting one where you did it. I'm not ready at all to put Georgia Gwinnett ahead of Olu and Cumberland's. What's kind of the reasoning there?
Um, Heavy on Jarvis. I think when she gets rolling and she puts up those insane numbers like we've seen her already do this year, if their offense can just produce those 1 or 2 runs like we've seen them do, I can't I can't go against it.
No, I'm gonna take a break just to I had a text it's about something else, but I did want to mention this and I just thought about it. Carly, the number 1 kicker on my board, signed him the other day.
Yep. Yep.
Oh, I was hype. Oh, I was hype. Oh, I was hype. Yeah. Yeah. I wasn't gonna say it until it was officially pen to paper, but it's pen to paper. I'm
Good
very
stuff,
excited.
Coach Reagan.
Yeah, whatever. Um, appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, no, that's sick. Very excited about that. But yeah, moving on. So top 5. Here's who we believe are the top 5 teams are. Carly, we have the same top 5. They're just in a different order. You start off with Eastern Oregon at your 5 spot. I have USAO at my 5, and we have them flip-flop. My 5 is Southern and Arts. My 4 is Eastern Oregon. Your 5 is Eastern Oregon. Your 4 is USAO.
Yep. Yep. Um, I kind of
Obviously, go ahead,
I
my
chose
bad.
USAO just because um they're just they're different in my book. Eastern Oregon, um, I'd like to see how they still fare in the Cascades. So USAO for me, just because it looks like not they'll have their conference kind of on lockup. We'll see if the Stars can produce something like they did last year, but I had to rock USAO at 4 and Eastern Oregon at 5, especially after um, no, I lost my train of thought.
You're good. Certainly, I could have gone either way there. They're similar. Certainly, USAO has the easier path, throughout from now until um, conference
Okay.
or until opening round. You're right, opening round because it's the Cascade Conference Tournament. Holy cow! Yeah, we'll see what Oklahoma City could do. Maybe a MACU or Southwestern Christian could surprise USAO, but they're obviously the betting favorite to win the conference right now. I put Eastern Oregon ahead simply because I trust the lineup more. Now you start looking at pitchers 2, 3, 4. I think Parsons and Williams is a wash. They're two phenomenal pitchers. So I mean wash there. Obviously 2 and 3 for USAO, maybe a little bit stronger than Eastern Oregon, but I look at the difference there and then the difference in the lineup after this weekend. How can you not trust that Eastern Oregon lineup? Obviously Carly Moore for Oregon Tech was able to do what she needed to do against them in the last game. But speaking of Oregon Tech, we both have them at 3, despite the split. Still have to put Oregon Tech ahead of Eastern Oregon just based off what they've done so far this year and what they did down in Oklahoma, going 5-1. They're only lost at 2-1 to Oklahoma City, who's in our top 15 in this. So yeah, Oregon Tech. We both have number 3, and then we disagree on who the number 1 team in the country is. Carly, my number 2 team. It well, let me, it come down to this. It came down to this: Northwestern and Southern Oregon, the top 2 teams for both of us. You
Mhm.
can make great arguments for both. They both have really quality wins. Both performed unbelievably well this weekend, or last weekend in Oklahoma. But I look at it, and Shane Bowman's a phenomenal coach. That's a great team. I think on paper, even roster wise, I look at Northwestern, I'd probably give them the nod, but I'm going with the lady that's got 3 red banners. I'm going with the program that has for the last half decade has been the pinnacle, the standard of NAIA softball. I'm going with Southern Oregon. They're the number 1 team in the country right now. They should be number 1 in the new rankings. They handle business this weekend against Warner Pacific to start Cascade play. This team is playing with a phenomenal amount of energy. Northwestern is too. Carly, I feel very, very strongly that these are the 2 best teams in the country. If we had a crazy like BCS football um, way of going about it, I'd be very confident that these would be the 2 teams playing for a national championship. Thank God that's not how we do things, obviously. That would suck. But I look at these 2 teams, and these are the only 2 teams that I am like 99.99% sure will be in Columbus. Now there are teams in that 90% range for me, but I would be very surprised to this point with both teams staying healthy. Either one, they both have number 1 pitchers. Kate for Northwestern, Ayla for Southern Oregon, that can take them to distance in these postseason environments. But for me, again, I gotta go Coach Pistol in Southern Oregon, but Northwestern right on their heels. Carly, what's your reasoning for having the Northwestern College Red Raiders the number 1 team in your power rankings as we're entering into March?
For starters, GPAC Nation. Gotta roll GPAC. But other than that, they had a really solid weekend, like you said, down in Oklahoma last weekend. Put up Had 2 really good games against USAO and their lineup and pitching staff. And then for me, I think just Northwestern, anyone in their lineup can produce RBIs and base hits through and through. And I like their pitching staff, like you said, Kate Kralik, and then they got a couple other pitchers that can hold their own in the circle. Gwen Mickelson, phenomenal shortstop for them, big bat. I just really like them, and like you said, for me and for you both, or for you, Southern Oregon could just as easily be number 1. And I had them at number 1 for a second. I even alluded to it last weekend or last episode that I probably would say Southern Oregon, but had to ride with the Red Raiders and GPAC Nation and their resume so far this year.
Hey, I get it. If Coastal Georgia or Southeastern or God forbid, let me tell y'all folks something. Weber ever starts getting talked about in the top 10 again, like it was in 2022, got something we got to figure some things out, not get into all that right now. But that program ever gets in the top 10, that's going to be half of the episode, and y'all are going to hate it, and I'm going to love it. I'm going to love it. You think I'm wearing NAIA? No, I'm wearing straight Weber stuff. I am going to be insufferable. But yeah, if there was a Sun Conference team like a Coastal Georgia, Southeastern, St. Thomas, it probably would have been tough for me to not put them up there. But even still, you're absolutely right. These are the two top teams right now. You could, I think Oregon Tech definitely could have an argument. In the same breath, I mean, Eastern Oregon could too. Um, but yeah, that's our top 15. We'll put that out on a graphic. I'm sure everybody will agree with it and love us and say we're great
Yeah,
and right.
no issues there.
Yeah, no issues at all. But let's talk about two programs that certainly have a right to have been in that top 15. And if either one wins their doubleheader Monday at 1 and 3 Eastern, certainly could move into that. Let's start our midweek preview on Monday. Carl, this is a
A
phenomenal
really good
midweek.
midweek slate.
Yeah, and you usually see that. We're wrapping up some non-conference play. So, a lot of teams starting to go on spring break, coming down to Florida or Gulf Shores or whatever. So, yeah, the next week or two, we're going to have some really fun, interesting matchups. But looking at it Monday, Grandview will take on Southeastern over in Lakeland, doubleheader at 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock Eastern. Out in Arizona, Madonna will play Bellevue. Bellevue, after a really nice showing in Shawnee, they have a chance to pick up some big time wins Monday and Tuesday against some top 15 opponents. One of those being Madonna, number 6. That's 2 o'clock Central Time. Missouri Baptist, they're really tough preseason schedule, and it needs to be a tough preseason schedule with how the AMC looks like, how it's starting to shape up after Missouri Baptist this year. They take on the Friends Falcons in a doubleheader at 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock Central Time. Big one that I am excited for, and I will be there in person for. We've got two Crossroads matchups taking two Crossroads teams taking on two Sun Conference teams over at the Space Coast at 4:45 Eastern Time. Top 20 matchup. Indiana Wesleyan takes on St. Thomas, and then Kaiser takes on Marion. We get to see IWU and Marion see where they're at, and then for St. Thomas and Kaiser, Sun Conference, there's some big top 15 ones there. Carly, looking to Tuesday, we just keep on rolling with some really good action.
Yeah, a little bit of a flip of what's happening Monday. Marion will then take on St. Thomas at 12:15 Eastern. Um,
I didn't put it in the notes. That's my bad. But that is a complete flip. You're right because IWU will play Kaiser as well.
okay, write that down, people.
Yep.
And then Bellevue and Northwestern will play each other at 12 o'clock Central Time. Johnson and Montreat will have a doubleheader at 3 and 5 Eastern. And then the matchup I'm kind of looking forward to, Baker and Moab. They'll play at 2 and 4 Central Time.
Yeah, really fun one. They're wrapping up the midweek on Wednesday. Georgia Gwinnett plays Mobile, and Madonna plays Northwestern College. Both of those 12 Central Time first pitch. And then Ottawa Benedictine, 1 o'clock Central Time. Could be a big top 25 win for Ottawa and for Benedictine. Guys, to get things turned around, they need to start building some momentum before getting in to Heart of America play. That'll wrap up today's episode. On Thursday's episode, it is going to be a big one, definitely a must listen. It is one of the biggest weekends of the year. The Gulf Shores Invitational is next weekend. A lot of other games that we're going to talk about. So we'll have a really, really long weekend preview, as well as a midweek recap for those, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, about 13, 14 games there. So a lot of matchups that we have to talk about on Thursday's episode, plus a big preview, and then a must-listen in-person interview with me and Bill Gamolich, one of the best and most respected umpires in college softball. So awesome to have him on and hear his perspective. Carly, you got anything else before we send the folks into the midweek?
I do not. Let's have a good week.
Let's do it. All right, everybody. Y'all have a great, great, great next few days. We'll talk to you Thursday.